What's going on, everybody? It's Ricky with Videohomicide, back with a review of two amazing films that I watched over the last week. Now, in my last haul video, I'd mentioned this Graveyard of Honor box set, and I finally cracked it open and I checked out both the flicks. So, from 1975, we got Graveyard of Honor by Kinji Fukasaku, and then in 2002, we got Takashi Miike's Graveyard of Honor. Now, these are both based on the same real-life Yakuza member from way back when. And both movies take a different type of take, so I'm not going to give you like the whole story, but I'm just going to like brush over the events of the film that I thought were pretty cool. So in the first one, we got his name's not Riki, but his short form of it could be Riki, I guess. So I'll just refer to the main character as Riki. So Riki starts off as this young kid. Everyone knows he's going to be like a mob guy, and they show all this sort of like documentary style like behind the scenes footage of the life of this kid growing up. There's all these photos with like circles around them and all this stuff. And when I watched the one featurette, they kind of talked about that, and how the circle around the photo represented like the flag of Japan and all this stuff. And it goes into a lot of like post-war stuff like these Yakuza films do. And I had a blast with this one, man. I thought it was so good. I loved the main character. I loved the way he looked. That's the thing I love about Yakuza films. Like, they're really good at bringing together a very interesting looking cast. You know what I mean? Everyone sort of looks really in place, and I like that. So the first Graveyard of Honor, or the one with by Fukasaku, I thought was really good, but I enjoyed the Miike one better, and I'll talk about that when I get there. But there's some standout scenes in this film. Like, one of my favorite parts happens like right near the beginning, where Riki, he's just like walking down the street, and he walks past all these chicks, and he just decides to like whip his cock out and take a piss. And the point of view is like from behind him, under his legs, almost like a Texas Chainsaw Massacre view. And all the girls like shriek, and he's like, "Shut up, whores," or some shit like that. Like, they're very, I think the word's misogynistic. Like, in these films, they're very disrespectful and abusive to women. Now, there's a scene where one of the major components of this film is the girlfriend that Riki gets randomly. Like, one night there's this this fight happens between the Japanese guys, like, that Riki's a family, like, he's part of this Yakuza family, and there's like this Chinese restaurant, and they go there and they shoot up a card game and all that kind of stuff, much kind of like John Woo's The Killer. You know what I mean? I got a lot of The Killer vibes from both of these movies, not to mention both of them have fantastic camera work, especially the Fukasaku film I thought was really cool. And this Riki character doesn't escape, but like he kind of like separates from the gang because they're being pursued by the police and stuff at this point. And he finds his way into the apartment of this little chick, not like a little girl, but like this chick. And he ends up like leaving his pistol there and all of his money. He ends up going to jail, comes back, and then just like basically rapes her in a way. But they kind of have this weird relationship. My dog's pushing the tripod, but it's okay. Lay down. Yeah, their relationship is kind of weird because he'll just kind of like come out of nowhere and like ask her for cash and stuff. And it's random, like how, like, it's amazing to think of like how the way things are now as opposed to how they were back then, like when these movies were made and stuff like that. Because I think this movie takes place earlier in history, but it's from the 70s. And yeah, you get a lot of really good deaths in this film, different stabbings and stuff like that. I really loved the scene at the end. I'm not going to say what happens, but there's an insane bloodbath that's quadrupled in the Takashi Miike film, of course. If you've seen movies like Ichi the Killer or Dead or Alive, those types of movies, how they're very over the top. The Miike film is not that over the top as much as those movies that I just mentioned, but it's still pretty, it amps up the blood level. So this movie, Riki becomes a heroin addict because he's hanging out with a stripper, or like a geisha, like a prostitute at this dope house. Basically, he's banging her, she's banging heroin, and then all of a sudden she's just like, "Oh, do you want to try it?" Or he asks if he can try it, so he does. Then he gets hooked, and he ends up getting banished because he attacks his godfather, and he ends up having to leave Tokyo. But he's supposed to leave for like 10 years. He comes back after a year with this dope head he meets, and they basically just go on this spree of, or not a spree, but almost like a siege type moment where like they're holed up in a room, the cops know where they are. There's like a sleazy detective guy, and I love that there's actually, you know what, that might have been in the Miike film, the sleazy detective guy, but either way, this was a really cool scene, like, because I loved how the dope head was like worried about there was no dope left, and almost as much as how he behaves in the Miike film about there not being any bullets left. So long story short, I loved the Fukusaka film. I had a lot of fun with it. But this one right here, man, the Miike film, and I didn't even notice until like maybe 15 minutes ago that on his hair, it's like skeletons. I thought it was just like white highlights, but there's skeletons and like dead bodies in his hair. This is a really good, artwork that they've made for this film. I prefer the new artwork over the old artwork, although the old stuff is pretty cool too. There's Riki right there, badass dude. So basically, instead of him becoming, being enticed or put into this crime syndicate way of life at an early age, this is just like a dude that was working at a restaurant, and Takashi Miike is actually an assassin that comes in to take someone out, and it's like hardcore, like it's very, like I said, John Woo, The Killer-esque. Definitely, I think that the original inspired The Killer, and then The Killer helped inspire this one, in that way at least. So there's a really cool scene, like I said, Takashi Miike himself comes in, guns blazing, takes out a bunch of people in this restaurant, and then Riki, who's like this dishwasher dude, he just comes out of nowhere. He's sort of like ignoring all the gunfight and all that, and then he just comes out of nowhere and hits Takashi Miike with a chair. And then the mob boss, who was the target, ends up taking him under his wing, bringing him into the family. And Riki in this film, he has like no fear. He is just like a crazy motherfucker. He'll just go up to people, rob them. It doesn't matter. He walked around the streets like covered completely in blood. Just insane nonsense. But his sort of like rise and fall, I think, was more entertaining because it was more over the top in a way. Like in the original, how he meets the chick, it's sort of like, he's injured and he needs help, or he not injured and needs help, but he needs help, right? And then in this one, he's just like covered in fucking blood, and he's like, there's a scene that matches from the original film where he like, there's a bloody hand on a window, which I thought was cool. But he, right off the bat, he's just like raping this chick, and then she like accepts him, which is absurd, you know what I'm saying? But I guess that's just how it is, or how it was in that type of lifestyle, in that environment at that time, because I think this movie is set in the late 80s. Now, this movie has a lot more of that, like, late, or like, that blood spray that you kind of want, you know what I mean? Lots of people are getting stabbed again. Lots of people are getting shot to shit. There's good shootouts. The part when he's held up in the room, I think, is better in this movie because he's got all these guns, and there's cops everywhere, and there's snipers and stuff like that. And he comes out of the apartment sliding door because they shoot a couple of those tear gas things up there, and he comes out like in his underwear with like 4 guns and just bucks them off till they're all empty. And then when they're empty, he just goes, "All right, I'm out of bullets," and like waves a white flag. Gets sent to prison, all that stuff. But I liked how in this movie, when it came to the heroin, he wasn't enticed by a prostitute. He sort of like, he did this robbery, and these guys just happened to have heroin, and then he just happened to start doing heroin, which is insane. So again, I really like the way that everyone looked in this film. I think in this one, I forget the name of it, but the guy that was like his buddy in prison, his henchman that has like like the white in the side of his hair and like the little mustache and all that, like that's very Yakuza to me. Like Kill Bill did a good example of like Yakuza looking dudes with like that crazy hair and all that kind of shit. So another thing that the two movies shared that I really liked was basically the oh shit, almost dropped that. The ending of the Fukusaka film is basically the beginning of this one, and then the rest of the film is sort of backstory. And like I said, like this one has a bloodbath. This one has like a blood river, or like a fucking blood Niagara Falls. Heavy duty stuff. And I liked how at the end of each film, the quote was basically, "What a laugh, 30 years of raising hell," And I loved how you know, at the beginning of the Mike film, they do this quote like, on a Tuesday, the Godfather went to the dentist, and at the same time, hell began, or hell was being raised, or some fucking thing like that. They have a thing with these cool quotes and shit in these types of movies, but highly recommend both these flicks. If you've not picked them up yet, definitely go ahead and do it. If you're into the whole Yakuza film movement of the 1970s, of the you know, late 90s, early 2000s, all that kind of shit, you're gonna have a good time with these ones. Great double feature. This one runs about an hour and a half. This one runs just over 2 hours. And like I said, no dull moments. They're both entertaining as fuck. So pick them up if you can. This Arrow box set is delightful. I would love to go back and watch some more of the special features. So if you picked this up, let me know what you thought about it in the comments. If not, leave a 666 in the comments. And with that being said, I hope everybody's having a great weekend, a safe weekend. And I'll be back for another video as soon as I can. Adios.